What's happening, y'all? For those of you who have inquired about how I transport whistles, this is my current carrying case of choice. I got it from Express, as you can see here. Buy one, get one free, in fact. And it works great for holding. This is like 5 whistles perfectly. I want to play an old tune now, one I used to play all the time, but it just kind of fell off the grid for some reason. And I heard it recently at a session, so I figured it'd be a fun one to break down. It is a tune called The Traveler. It's a nice reel in G. Here we go. What y'all think? You dig it? I think it's kind of cool. It's got that little run up that it does in the A part. To me, that's always been the hook, the interesting bit. Let's break down the basic melody though. It does start on the G and it bounces between that first and second octave, so hopefully your arpeggios are good. This tune is built around arpeggios. So here we go with the beginning of the A part. Let's get that little walk-up bit. That's what I mentioned. That's kind of the hook. So again, first part of the A part here. Now the second section is more of that arpeggio bit here. I'll run that whole thing again there. We'll do it a little slower. That big long run down there, that's, again, another just kind of cool part about this tune, I think. The second part here is basically a repeat, or the third section, I should say, is a repeat. And then the last section is also really a repeat. The beginning of it is a repeat of the second section, but then it just finishes a little bit differently, as you might expect. So here we go. So I'm going to play the whole A part all the way through. Let's just see how much of that we can get, shall we? Here we go. Nice and slow. How'd you do? Hopefully you're able to get through most of that anyway. Run it a few times if you need to, just get those basic notes down. The B part spends most of its time, or at least a good bit of its time, in the upper octave. Be aware of that if you have animals or neighbors and whatnot. So here we go, jump up to that high G. And then back around to another bit in the higher octave. Here's a second section. Hopefully that walk down part, that bit, hopefully that's going to sound a little familiar because we just did that in the A part. So we'll be able to reuse some of that. The second part is really a repeat. This whole B part is nearly half as long. Let's put those two sections together just so you can get that whole first half before we move on here. So here's that whole bit again. And then, as we do the repeat, Just like the A part is mostly a repeat of the first half. B part's the same way. We're going to repeat a bit from the beginning, and then the ending is a little bit different. So here we go with that. And it jumps straight back up to that high G again. So it's really just that last bar that's different. Same as how the A part ends, right? So hopefully that makes sense. We'll play the whole B part all the way through. Hang on for dear life. Here we go. Cool? Hopefully you got that. Let's dive in with some ornaments and see if we can mix it up a little bit. On that A part walk-up thing, I don't really do a whole lot, but you can do a short roll in the beginning, landing on that just to accent that first downbeat of the tune. I think is kind of cool. And I do cut that first note, I guess, of the arpeggio, but as we get to the walk-up, I don't really do much. So here we go. The only thing I'll do really is coming back down, and that's very optional. That popping grace note that I've talked a lot as you go from B to A, boop, popping that top finger off. Now, as I jump that 1 to 5 arpeggio, going from G to D, I'll almost always triplet that. I just like that sound. And then you could do more of a rolling triplet there. That's one of those where it never quite sounds as good on the whistle as it does on other instruments, unlike that C natural. And so, and then I'm also cutting that highest note in the phrase, cutting that high G there, but could do that triplet there. Same thing there, that popping grace note. And as I land on the F sharp, I'll sometimes double tap that one where I just bounce off that. And then cut to get back to that turnaround of the phrase, back to the repeating part. So then there really is not much different there. Yeah, the little ending phrase there is really very similar. That's all I'm doing is just a bounce, landing on that F sharp to end the phrase. Just accenting the last note in the phrase a little bit, landing on the F sharp and then sliding off of it to get to that G. As I jump, sometimes I'll triplet, throw in a kind of shorten the beat and throw in an extra trip. And then as I hit that highest note there, doing a short roll. Again, short roll when I come back to it, just because it's a quarter note, so you've got a little time there. I'll cut those top 2 notes, cutting that high B and the high A. That's one you might be a little bit careful with depending on your whistle and how much confidence you've got in it. It's a bit of a gamble to cut a high B and a high A. You might squeak that note like crazy. So keep that in mind. Proceed at your own risk. I'm doing a little bit of a bouncy thing as I do that D, G, E, G, I think it is. As I come back to it, it's kind of subtle, but as I go from G to E, I'll bounce that top G finger a little bit. Slow motion was how it would sound. Right, so you can hear it just, it accents that note a little bit, not a real major ornament there. And finishing up, we're just doing, I'll do that pop from B to A. If you want to get fancy, you could do a triple roll on that G, but a regular short roll works just fine. And that's it. That's what I'm doing on this one. I like it because it's fairly repetitive. It sounds more complicated than it is. The A part's fairly complicated, I guess. There's some stuff to it, but really, it's also pretty repetitive. Once you get some of the tricky bits down, you can reuse them. So let me know what you guys think of this tune. I'll see if I can find a cool version of it, somebody playing this one, and I'll link that down below. I think fairly common tune. I don't know. Check it out. Y'all let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.